If you're a college player and you're a great college player, like Caitlin was,
and you thought this was going to be Paige, and instead it's Caitlin.
the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players.
Gino, just say you're a UConn guy.
Caitlin Clark is creating a buzz as one of the best rookies in WNBA history.
Caitlin Clark is a superstar, not a female superstar. She is a superstar. She moves the needle.
She's not just good, she's incredibly gifted, especially considering her youth and limited experience.
You already have a pretty high level of basketball, and then you add in a superstar in Caitlin Clark to the league, could be pretty dope.
However, there was one person who overlooked her potential, Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, but she needs to be on a better. She needs to be on a better team, and she needs to be more experienced. And that will come.
It can be disheartening when respected figures in basketball, particularly those who are passionate about women's basketball, miss the mark with their opinions.
But for these ridiculous fans who had her slotted as the next Diana, now they're out of their mind. And for these people that are waiting outside the bus for the Chicago Sky team, what the hell's wrong? What do we become, a third world soccer country?
Gino Auriemma fits that description, and so does Cheryl Swoops.
Every time Caitlin gets fouled, we can't make it seem like she was assaulted.
While I won't name names, it's evident that others have also missed the point.
That I made those comments because I'm a racist. Like, first of all, black people can't be racist.
Let me share a quote from Gino Auriemma, who is one of the foremost experts on women's basketball. A few months back, he appeared on Dan Patrick's show when the Fever were struggling. The timing was particularly ironic because Caitlin Clark had just scored 30 points against the Washington Mystics that same night.
They have two different types of games.
Here's what Gino said. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality in the league. She had just scored. Let me emphasize, she had just achieved her second 30-point game. Since then, Caitlin Clark has added another 30-point game to her achievements.
I think when your team wins and wins a lot, I think you draw a lot of attention to yourself.
At the time of Gino's interview, she had already accomplished 2, and remember, she's still just a rookie.
You know, when people say, who's the best player? Well, who's the best team? I mean, that's as it happens in the pros, right? Who's the best player in the country? Who's the most valuable player in America? Well, let's go look at the best team and pick their best player.
This rookie class isn't even considered among the best of the last decade, yet he insists she's just not built for the physicality of this league.
And had we kept winning, you know, I don't know that Paige would be any bigger or less talked about, and I don't know that she would have the kind of impact that Caitlin's had, because they have different personalities, different games. They approach the game differently, and it works for both of them. I don't know, but it would have been nice to find out.
She's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. Gino simply pointed out that as a UConn fan, he anticipated this to be Paige Bucker's time to shine.
We are in a red-blue, and if you're red, you can't agree with blue, and if you're blue, you can't agree with red, whereas most things are in the middle.
But it's Caitlin who is truly standing out. Everyone believed the 2020 ESPN recruiting class was something special.
So I think that'll be good for her. I find so much of the Caitlin Clark discussion is actually about the Caitlin Clark discussion and retroactively angry about why we weren't talking about the WNBA more then, but now we talk about it now. People get mad at that. So here's the thing. I think it is very clear what's happening. There's a little bit of rookie hazing. There's a little bit of jealousy. And like everything in America, there's a little bit of racial dynamics at play here too.
The 2020 ESPN 100 was recognized as an outstanding group back then. The buzz surrounding Paige Buchers was massive. If you claim that Caitlin Clark was always the superior player, that's not quite true. Caitlin Clark wasn't viewed as better than Paige Buchers when they were in high school.
If you're a college player and you're a great college player like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart.
Paige Buchers was regarded as one of the best guard recruits ever. She had no weaknesses, was a true game changer, and was the top prospect in the 2020 class.
There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name.
She was that remarkable. As a freshman, she even snagged the College Player of the Year award, surpassing Ryan Howard. Paige was collecting MVP honors with Team USA teams that were 2 years older than her.
Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning. So if you're a WNBA player, and believe me, I've coached the best, and I've pissed them off a lot, and they let me know about it. But they were tremendously disrespected. And none of them were going to say it. But human nature is, okay, this kid's coming into the league. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening.
Outshining Ryan Howard, Jordan Horston, and Caitlin Clark. Of course, Caitlin Clark has impressive numbers, and she might ultimately be the best of them all, especially with Lisa Bluter steering her career.
And she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. So there's a lot of learning curve, like Diana said. And when she gets it, she has elite skills that are going to really help her.
I'm not suggesting that Caitlin Clark isn't on a path to greatness, but Lisa Bluter's impact is clear. Paige Buchers played with the same kind of freedom in high school that Caitlin Clark displays now. Even after her first injury, Paige was functioning well within Gino Auriemma's system and was definitely more efficient than Caitlin Clark, even though she didn't have to carry as much of the load.
I think she's handling great. I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back. So she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets it. She's just not built for the physicality of this league.
This class was remarkable, with all 5 of the top players likely to be top 5 draft picks. Diamond Johnson is already in the WNBA, Haley Van Lith is expected to be drafted next year, though it's unclear where, and Tehina Paopao is projected to be a first-round pick. I can't think of anyone else from this class who might go lower. Overall, this was a historically significant class. As for the UConn recruit who was the top pick, she didn't quite live up to expectations.
And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. Targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA. There's a huge target on this kid's back. I thought Cameron Brink said something really smart. She said, no, they're expecting this rookie class to be perfect.
It's not like 2016, which was Sabrina Ionescu's year. Gino Auriemma continues to praise Katie Lou Samuelson even now, and I think to myself, Katie Lou Samuelson, I appreciate her as a person, but honestly, she hasn't performed well throughout her entire WNBA career.
And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. You know, Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
I'm puzzled by the Indiana Fever's decision to sign her. I understand that you can't trade someone because they've been pregnant, but offering a max contract after a year off for having a baby, which is understandable, but they gave her a max deal after she averaged just 5 points per game with the Los Angeles Sparks. She scored 5 points per game, then had a baby, took a year off, and got a max contract. She's not even the best player in her family. Her sister Carly is better. But that's the thing with Auriemma. He's incredibly loyal to UConn.
This rookie class isn't even one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years.
One part of the quote that Nick Wright didn't mention is that Gino Auriemma said before, or maybe after, I know about the best players in the league. I've coached them all. That's where the issue lies.
Gino Auriemma was on with my pal Dan Patrick a couple months ago when the Fever were struggling. And this was the quote. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality in the league, and she's a rookie. This rookie class isn't even one of the best classes in the last 10 years. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. She's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. End quote. Gino, just say you're a UConn guy.
We've seen it with Team USA selections. Gino Auriemma didn't choose the actual MVP and champion Nneka Ogwumike just so he could bring Breanna Stewart from college. He will always pick a UConn player over a non-UConn player for Team USA.
What does bother me is some of the people I deeply respect their basketball credentials, their basketball history, their commitment to basketball and women's basketball, I think have really not covered themselves in glory with some of this commentary.
And that's a problem. Nick Wright is spot on. Caitlin Clark didn't go to UConn, and everything that Gino looks for in a guard, the style of play that brought him so many national titles, more than I can count, doesn't really fit anymore.
And I'm going to read you a quote, Colin, if I may, from, again, this person might know more about about women's basketball than any person who's ever lived, and that's Gino Auriemma.
These young players aren't growing up playing that style. Plus, he hasn't won a championship in 7 years. Dawn Staley has surpassed him. Dawn Staley is what he used to be. Not only that, but he's also lost to Caitlin Clark.
I have to congratulate Iowa on an incredible season. Awesome. And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's gonna lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games, that we appreciate you.
He lost to Caitlin Clark with Hannah Stuelke at center and Gabby Marshall guarding Paige Buchers, even though Paige had a 7-inch height advantage.
And you thought this was going to be Paige, and instead it's Caitlin.
Gino might have lost his edge a bit. Still, look, Gino Auriemma is one of the greatest coaches ever. He's a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest college coaches ever, and he's definitely earned every dollar at UConn. But Nick Wright brings up a good point.
The people don't want to get yelled at, so now all of a sudden we're doing participation trophies. Now all of a sudden we are going to try to pretend like Angel, who again is having a 91 out of 100 rookie season, is on par with Caitlin's rookie season, which is one of the greatest rookie seasons in the history of the league, if not the greatest.
Gino Auriemma seems to have become a bit stuck in his ways. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark choosing not to join UConn. It's also about how her playing style is quite different from what's typical in the WNBA.
I saw where you said the WNBA, they're targeting Caitlin Clark. What do you mean by how she's being guarded or, enforced?
I think you and I both know the landscape that we live in today, both sports-wise and non-sports-wise, right?
Some might argue that Caitlin Clark's style isn't suited for the WNBA, but the truth is that defenders are struggling to keep up with her.
And it's just embarrassing. Guys, we have to be able to have honest conversations about sports, even if it goes against some of our priors or some of our allies on the internet.
Athletes who learn from coaches like Gino Auriemma and Dawn Staley, who preferred a more classic WNBA style akin to NBA basketball from 25 years ago, are struggling to adapt.
Nobody with a straight face can say there is a real debate about who the most impactful or best rookie in women's basketball has been this year. It's Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark and her Iowa team play a fast-paced style, and what the Indiana Fever are doing isn't even innovative.
But Caitlin Clark's arguably already one of the 5 best players in the league. Inarguably one of the 8 best players in the league.
It harks back to what Dan Hughes brought to the game 2 decades ago. The key difference is that Dan Hughes' approach was groundbreaking at that time, while the women's game appears to be about 25 years behind in terms of strategy.
We got to be able to say that. There should be 2 unanimous awards in the WNBA this year. The MVP should be unanimously to A'ja Wilson, every single first place vote. And Rookie of the Year should be unanimously to Caitlin Clark, every single first place vote.
Moving on to our second story, the Phoenix Mercury has stirred up some buzz regarding Diana Taurasi's potential retirement, one of basketball's all-time greats. They recently tweeted, "If this is it, you have 2 more opportunities to see the greatest of all time at home." This post has sparked a mix of reactions, with about 891 likes, indicating that some fans might be doubtful. Many are left wondering if this is a true sign of retirement or just a strategy to sell more tickets.
Obviously, a lot was made of this matchup between yourself and Diana Taurasi. I know she's one of your idols. How big is it for you to get a win here against her today?
I'm just happy we won. It was cool to play against her, and obviously a really great game. And like you said, this crowd was absolutely incredible.
Taurasi has faced retirement rumors before, and fans are eager to see her play one last time. Some speculate that the Mercury might be trying to generate excitement for their last home games, while others are hoping for a championship run before she hangs up her jersey. I really want to see her end her career on a high note, but I doubt that's in the cards. I think she's set to play in the upcoming Olympics, but that might not be allowed. Let's be real, if this is it, she'll be playing her final home game in Los Angeles on Tuesday, September 17th.
You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie. And it might take a little bit longer for some people.
Regardless, that game will mark the Sparks' last home match of 2024. Honestly, I can see her going on a retirement tour. If she takes a minimum salary, she could keep playing for another year. Plus, they could bring in another top player to support her, alongside Skylar Diggins-Smith, Sophie Cunningham, Diamond DeShields, and Brittany Griner. I don't really think she should keep playing, but she probably could. It's not the end of the world. It's not too far-fetched to think that Diana Taurasi might continue. However, that could put the Mercury in a tough spot.
No, I think my favorite part about Dee is similar. She keeps it honest, she keeps it real. But we've been in so many scenarios, right? Whether it's living overseas together in Russia, playing against each other in the WNBA.
The Instagram live video, that was amazing.
Who popped my cherry?
Personally, I wouldn't mind if Taurasi chose a different path. If I were in her shoes, I'd think about this. For her legacy, she's already achieved so much. I'd suggest signing a minimum deal with the Indiana Fever next year, just to create a real passing of the torch moment. Imagine a season with Caitlin Clark and Diana Taurasi on the same team, with Taurasi coming off the bench for her final year. She could chase that championship in a way that enhances her legacy.
It doesn't matter on our team. Now, the other coaches might say, well, you can do that because you got 3 other, All-Americans. I get that. I understand that. But I'd rather lose than watch kids play the way some kids play. I'd rather lose.
Picture every game as part of a retirement tour alongside Caitlin Clark. Fans would definitely be excited for Taurasi's farewell. Plus, if she's on a minimum contract, they could keep Kelsey Mitchell and bring Taurasi off the bench.
Putting a team together just is fascinating because there's so many components. I mean, obviously, there's so much to learn.
I think you could. I think you will get that chance.
I mean,
I do think you will, if you want it.
Just think about having her step in for Kelsey Mitchell or even Caitlin Clark. Honestly, Taurasi could probably handle the point guard position if she wanted to. So envision a lineup featuring Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Nalissa Smith as the likely power forward. Fans are still wondering if this legendary player is truly considering retirement. Some think she might be hinting at it, but I don't believe she's ready to hang up her sneakers just yet.
You have to show up.
571 times.
This doesn't happen if you don't show up consistently. And Sue has done that more than anyone. She shows up. She shows up during the offseason, getting in the best shape possible to come back and be the best leader for her team. She shows up every single time. Oh, it's always great. Every year is a different journey. And I think that's the best thing about being in a team sport that
Many speculate that announcing retirement just 10 days before the season ends could be a tactic to boost ticket sales. It's possible she might want to finish her career with a different team, like the Chicago Sky, but I don't see her leaving the Mercury. With averages of 13.2 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game since the Olympic break, she's still playing at an all-star level.
When you have training camp in the city, you practice and then everyone goes and they're busy, but we're going to be in San Diego for 5 days and really get to know each other. We have a brand new group, and I think it'll be a great opportunity to get to know each other and start building chemistry as a team.
In fact, based on her performance this season, she could easily make the All-Star team next year. While some argue that retiring on a high note sounds appealing, I question how high this season feels, especially as a 7th seed. Overall, I just don't believe she's finished yet.